Hey, what's going on, my friends, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Victor, and today I'm going to share with you 5 things I think you should know about this powerful upcoming new moon and partial solar eclipse happening on September 21st, 2025. At the time of filming this video, we are smack dab in the middle of 2 game-changing eclipses that if you found yourself stumbling upon this video, I can almost guarantee you're feeling it. You're in it. You're going through it. Change is a brewing. Transformation is ensuing. You're smack dab in the middle of like a dark night of the soul type of just radical transformation, most of us right now. And there's no way around it because things are changing. The cosmos are changing. You are changing. We're all evolving. And this astrology is here to catalyze a great deal of it. So I've noticed, and maybe you have as well. But anyway, before I get too deeply and off on a tangent here, this video is going to share with you the 5 themes that you might be experiencing right now with this particular new moon and eclipse happening on September 21st. I've noticed that each full moon, each new moon, each eclipse, it has its own challenges, it has its own themes, it has its own opportunities for game-changing, life-upgrading, soul-cleansing breakthroughs. And this one is no different. This one epitomizes everything I just said. Theme number 1, letting go of futile attempts to control the uncontrollable. Right now, you might feel out of control. Whether it's something going on in your life causing this feeling of uncertainty, or whether your life is relatively stable and the external, you might just feel that way. It doesn't take much. It doesn't take an earthquake to make us feel out of control. It could be an argument with a close friend. It could be a discrepancy with our boss. It could be a bad month with business. It could be a fight with our spouse, a conflict with our children. It could be none of that. It could be the relationship we have with ourselves. A lot of times there's like there's an awareness of a discrepancy between who we know ourselves to be and how we're acting, how we're thinking, how we're behaving. Now, I will say, usually there is something external within the eclipse season, at least something that's making you feel a little bit like weary, like you don't know, like change is in the air, things aren't playing out the way they ought to, and you don't know how the cards are gonna fall. So in these, whatever it is, your trigger or your catalyst, you might find yourself reverting to highly conditioned, highly outdated patterns of futile attempts to control. You know me, I invest in Bitcoin. So when I feel financially strapped, you know what I do? I Google Bitcoin. How much is Bitcoin at? Oh, it's up? Great, it's great. It's down? Oh no. It's up again? Oh good. And I put myself through this needless roller coaster with Bitcoin. That's one of my neurotic, ineffective, futile attempts of control. Bitcoin's a good example because it's all over the freaking place, basically. It's also a good metaphor for this process because though it's up and down, it always is heading upwards. But the point is, my friend, you might be becoming more aware of your attempts to control and you might be getting more fed up with it, seeing them for what they are, like pointless, exhausting, affectionless attempts to control what is like clearly uncontrollable. None of us know what's going to happen 1 second from now. We could get blasted by a freaking meteor. We wouldn't know. You don't know what's going to happen. And we all know that deep down. And it's unsettling. It's like the human condition. And these eclipses, they just have a way of rearranging the puzzle in your life in such a way to create this effect of, oh boy, what's going to happen? It can create like a feeling of like almost concern. Like for depending on who you are and what your theme is now, it could be many different things doing it, but the effect is the same. And right now is a chance to evaluate, do I like how I'm responding? Am I pleased with the way I'm reacting to life this week? And most of us is going to say no, but what do I do? And that's where point number 2 comes in, which I'm going to move into right now. Point number 2, a deeper faith in quote unquote, and I use this word cautiously, God, a higher power, creator, great spirit, universe, something. You might find yourself in a spot where you finally admit to yourself you don't have any control. You never did. So that begs the question, what do I lean on? What do I lean against? And this is an opportunity to go deeper with your faith. Now, I'm not imposing any type of religious belief. I respect them all, whatever that means for you. But it's good to pray to stuff. You know what happened to me a long time ago? I was in drug rehab for the second, third, or fourth time in a row for heroin. And at that time, I lived a very godless existence. I didn't believe in anything. I was suffering. I was miserable. I had no faith in anything. I thought anybody that believed in anything besides science and logic was an idiot, was in denial of the fact that no one knows what's going on. I was very cynical. And anyway, it was my first day in this second or third stint of rehab, right? And I was coming off of heroin, and the day was kind of winding down. And the final class I went to, there's a bunch of classes. If you've been to rehab, you kind of know there's all these different classes. The final class was from this dude named Marty, who was as we said, jumping for Jesus. He was very, very religious, very, very stereotypically Orthodox Christian type of person. No offense to that, but he was saying things that at that time really upset me, really conflicted with my sort of cynical, way of looking at life. And I remember leaving this class, just in my head, oh, Marty's so stupid, kind of thing. And I went back to my cold, depressing, boring ass looking rehab room where I sat there at the end of my bed completely alone. And I was mad. I was mad at myself, mad at a God I didn't believe in. And I found myself yelling, not that loud, but I was talking out loud to this alleged God who I didn't believe in. And I was like, God, if you're so powerful, why don't you come down here and throw me a freaking bone right now? You know what happened? You're not going to even believe me when I tell you what happened. What happened was, within an instant, I found myself in a different place, a different realm. I would use that word, realm. I found myself somehow, I popped in to this divine reality that at the time I thought was heaven. And I thought it was heaven because, and I didn't think I died. I was just perplexed. Where the hell, how did I get here? But once I my eyes adjusted, so to speak, what was so noticeable to me was how the vibe. The vibe was pure love, pure divine love at a potency I didn't even know was possible. And as I'm in this heavenly realm out of the frickin' blue, I see an angel floating towards me. And he comes over. He was I don't know. They were neither male or female. This angel being came over and it got closer and closer. And as it was getting closer and closer, I could feel it was his own source of love. And it was getting closer and closer, and the love was just growing. And it was almost to the point of I just burst into tears. And I hugged this angel, and the angel hugged me back with his wings. And I felt such peace, such love. And then there was a few other things which I won't get into. It's kind of pointless. But then eventually I woke up, and I gasped. I gasped out of bed. I was I had fallen asleep or something, and I was I looked around the room like this, and I was what the hell was that? And then what popped in my head was the fact that I slept. Normally when you're kicking dope the way I was, you don't sleep for a week, no sleep. Not even, you get what they call micro sleep, where you do that. You pass out for 2 seconds, maybe. I somehow was out all night and had this crazy ass dream. And anyway, I know to you, it's a story I'm telling you. But what I realize is that there is something out there, at least I know that, I have experienced that, and all I had to do was ask. All I had to do was ask. And I didn't even ask in a very polite way, and I got something. And anyways, you might find yourself in your inability to control what's happening in life with no other choice but to, I'm not telling you to pray, because I would get so annoyed with people imposing things, but you might find yourself in your own way turning to something beyond yourself. And you might find that you're able to establish some type of connection with something else, this guiding force, this divine guiding force is kind of how I would label it. That seems to kind of come and go at times, but now is a good time to reestablish that connection and ask, what is can't believe I'm saying this honestly, but because it's not like me, like, almost like, what is the will? What is my divine plan? And I believe that there's a chance to kind of like fall into that and find peace and realize we don't have to like do this alone. Number 3, I can't leave this out because this is a huge part of the eclipse, maybe even more so like what you're experiencing like right now predominantly, and it's a purge. It's a purge. And it's like a multifaceted purge going on right now. You might find yourself even surprised at just how intensely your old patterns of thinking and feeling, like your pain, various pain bodies, as Eckhart Tolle would say, are just like there, and you're just in it sometimes. And it's so discouraging because it feels like when that happens, when you're sort of like taken over temporarily, always, by your unconsciousness, you feel like that's all there is. And you start to see the world through the eyes of this very, 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 very limited, wounded, fractured self. And through their eyes, nothing is good. There is no hope. It's just despair. And there's like, it's hard to have faith. It's hard to turn to God. It's hard to do any of these things, but just sulk. And it's like, God, sometimes it's like, why is this happening? And that's the question. Why is this happening? Why are you thinking this way? Do these thoughts and feelings really ring true to you? And you might find yourself saying like, no, God, no. This is the pain body, it's back. And then you might still be trapped in it for a time. And you might come in and out of it for a little while with little glimpses of, oh, I'm back. And then you're back in it. It's a purge. It's very much like what happens on like mushrooms or ayahuasca. What we're experiencing over the course of like a month, you experience like a couple of hours. And when it happens, it's very similar to where the tone of your experience begins to change. Like on ayahuasca, for example, you might be just sitting there enjoying the music, and all of a sudden, it's like this eerie feeling washes over you, and you're like, and then you feel stuff happening. And then you feel something coming up, and it's like, oh, I don't want that to come up. No, there's no fighting it. So it comes up, and it's just like grief, pain, tied together. It's like this constellation of stored pockets of pain, basically. But then, like, as it like works its way out, there's the purge, the release. And then you're back. But you're not quite the same. You're a little lighter. You feel more expansive. You have more access to your clarity, to your divine connection, to all these wonderful attributes that we all have inherently, that we were temporarily, it was like covered up by this pocket of energy obscuring the sunlight of ourselves. And it seems like it's dark out, and it is, but the sun's still there, the light's still there, and all of a sudden, once it's gone, oh, how grateful we are for the sunlight after a week of like melancholy, bluesy, sunless weather. It's like that. But when you're in it, all you can do is sometimes be in it. And you might try to like figure it out. I've been journaling, Vic. I've been going through this too, and I'll journal. What the hell fuck is going on with me? Why am I feeling this way? What's the meaning? Where's this from? And it's like, it doesn't really get you anywhere sometimes. And then the cool thing is life always has your back. You might just find some random thing just comes into your field of vision or your awareness, and it's like, oh. And then you're good. You suddenly snap out of it, and you see, oh, wow. I was taken over. I was like possessed back then. And now I can see from a distance how like, oh, that's not me. I don't agree with that. And these are just opportunities to, at least I believe, to re-examine from a higher state of consciousness our various sort of perspectives, some of which are true, some of which are authentic and clear, some of which are not, are conditioned, are born of our pain and our trauma. And you're going to get a little bit of all of it, basically. But nonetheless, it's a good old cleanse. And it's tough, though. You might have multiple things coming up simultaneously. But what's coming is going. Number 4, the realization that nothing is happening to you, but you are doing it to yourself, basically. Now, I'll give an example. One of my triggers in my life is when I launch a new internet program, a coaching program, or some type of business, and it doesn't do well. It doesn't meet my expectations. It crushes me. It literally makes me feel worthless. It puts me into the deepest, darkest pits of despair to where I don't know if I'm gonna ever come out of it. It's crazy. My friend Aaron, my business partner, can be in the exact same scenario. And because it doesn't happen to connect with his personal deep wounding and worthiness issues, he'll be like, oh, well, we just gotta let's just try this. Let's just switch this. Okay. He doesn't personalize it. And you might start to realize that whatever's going on in your life that you're hoping to avoid, hoping doesn't happen or is happening, and you're freaking out by it, you might realize is it that thing that's actually bugging you? Is it what that person said? Is it the fact that person gave you a dirty look? Does that actually hurt you? No, it's your interpretation of that look and what it means about you that creates this crazy inner sort of experience of resistance and pain. But that awareness is what can set us all free. That's the difference between going through life unconsciously blaming the other, anything external for your choice and interpretation, and owning it, owning your triggers, owning your responses. Hard to do. I don't do this perfectly. Normally I resist and have a hissy fit and complain, but eventually I realize it gets me nowhere, and then I'm exhausted, and I'll finally, I'll admit, okay, maybe I had a little something to do with this. Maybe it could be because of my own perception a little bit. But just kidding. I try to do that as best I can, but I'm not perfect. It's very difficult to do because when we're caught off guard by these types of things, it's so difficult. But that, in my experience, has been the way out. To own it, to take responsibility. Not for what even is happening, even though arguably from an esoteric perspective, that's also our creation. I believe it is actually. But mainly, I think we also live in a world of nature, and nature's kind of random and cyclical and unpredictable, and as Alan Watts would say, wiggly. And a lot of our experience of life/nature is our own interpretation. A launch not doing very well to my buddy Aaron is simply a task to figure out a fun puzzle to play with. For me, it means I am worth nothing and might as well walk off a cliff. Situation the exact same. And you'll have clues if you what you might notice as to be an overreaction to something. Then you can look at that. That's how you can start to move through this purge more effectively, by kind of recognizing that. And number 5, something I just want to share with you that was helpful to me. This is not so much a theme, but something that really helped me, and I'm going to pass it on to you in case it might help you. And it comes from this being, you might say, I don't even know honestly, named Sept. You may have heard of the Sept material. This woman, Jane Roberts, I think in the 60s, was a channeler, one of the first notable channelers, and she wasn't expecting to be, but if you watch the YouTube videos, and she's got a book on it, it's pretty, it looks like something's going on there, for sure. Regardless, the information is pretty potent and profound, and does seem to be coming from elsewhere. And this energy of Sept or whatever says that you are all worthy because you exist. And it says, think about it. Just right now, whoever you are, wherever you are in the world, you're sitting here, you're watching this video, and in this moment, your heart is beating. There's how many pathways of veins are connected to your heart, feeding blood to your entire body, blood and oxygen. How many cells right now in this moment are dividing and multiplying and purifying the bad cells? And there's all this stuff going on. You're alive, you're breathing, you can see, you can hear, you can touch, you can feel love, you can feel pain. You are a human being, which is an amazing creation. It's phenomenal. Now, do you think whatever created that screwed up and said, oh, I didn't mean to give you all this power? No. You are worthy because you exist, period. And anyways, that was very helpful for me to hear. I needed to hear that multiple times throughout this last couple of weeks of my own life. And I wanted to pass it on to you in case you have forgotten like I oftentimes do. And it's not easy. These eclipse energies are always humbling to me. They really do. They shake me to my core sometimes. And when you're being shaken up, it's hard to have faith. It's hard to even do any of the things I'm telling you to do or suggesting you do. But eventually the shaking does stop. We know that. All storms come to an end. And I found that if we can make use of the shake, we can find ourselves in a much better spot in life, more grounded in our true self, knowing its true purpose, in a life of alignment and health and thriving, vitality. That's kind of what these energies, I believe, are trying to help us do. Saying, listen, you think you're good, you think you know what you want, but you don't. We know what is best, and we know what's going to make you happy, but you got to let go of all this stuff in your life, these attempts to control, all these old patterns that are just like old stuff. This is not you anymore. This is not who you become. You know that. So, well, why are you still doing it? Why is it still there? Look at it. And if we can do the work, do the inner work, then we can use these to grow. Yogananda, he says that the seasons of failure are the best time to plant the seeds of success. And that's how I choose as best I can to roll with this energy. And even though it's been a rough ride at times, I've always come out the other side renewed and grateful. Hard to believe we're going to be grateful at some point, but it always works out that way, doesn't it? You always get to a certain point where you can look back and say, oh, that's why that all had to happen. Now it makes sense. Much better off. So with that said, my friends, thank you so much for watching. If you need some help, if you have stuck energy, one of the things I will sometimes mention at the end of my videos is a free somatic release breathwork ceremony. It's a recording of a breathing technique. It's like an hour-long breathing ceremony. Normally I charge money for it, but I'm going to give it to you guys for free today if you want. I'll leave a link down below the video. Check it out. You can download it. It's a recording of one I've done before. And it can help you release some tears, release some anger, release some grief, release some fear, whatever it is. Energy, you can have a nice purge. It can really assist. In fact, I'll probably do a session, honestly, myself pretty soon. It's a good timing with the eclipse season, especially if you resonated with what I said. So check it out if you want. With that said, I'll see you all next time. Have an amazing day, my friends. God bless. Peace.